all weekend long. Anyway, we have talked at length about the firing of Don Imus and the implications it has. And now it is extended to other radio DJs have been suspended for a bit that they did. You have these groups that are monitoring each and every word that hosts are saying. There's certainly a bullseye on conservative talk radio because they don't like the political opinion of different hosts. Just to take you back, this is how it all got started on Imus's program a couple of weeks back.
So I watched the basketball game last night between a little bit of Rutgers and Tennessee, the women's final.
Yeah, Tennessee won last night. 7th championship for Pat Summitt. Man, they beat Rutgers by 13 points.
That's some rough girls from Rutgers, man. They got tattoos and some hardcore hoes. That's some nappy-headed hoes there, I'm going to tell you that.
Oh, man.
That's some... And the girls from Tennessee, they all look cute, you know, so kind of like a Spike Lee thing.
Yeah. The Singaboos versus the Wannabes, that movie that he had?
Yeah, it was a tough...
do the right thing.
I don't know if I'd have wanted to beat Rutgers or not, but they did, right?
It is a tough watch. The more I look at Rutgers, they look exactly like the Toronto Raptors.
Well, I guess. Yeah.
That's a little tougher.
All right, and then after... Imus made multiple on-air apologies. Then he went on Al Sharpton's show. Sharpton refused to accept his apology, pushed forward with the firing, and first he was fired from television, the simulcast, and then fired from radio. Anyway, on our Newsmaker line is the producer of the Imus program, speaking out on radio now for the first time. Bernard McGuirk is with us. Well, you missed the business, sir.
Sure I miss the business, Sean. I miss, I'm the guy who likes to work, likes to wake up in the morning and go in and have some fun, and absolutely I miss it. But, I appreciate you having me on and giving me this opportunity to speak out, me lad.
Well, I expect that Cardinal Egan is going to be joining us any minute here.
Jesus, no. Where's me cap? Where's me cup of tea? Where's me mug of tea over here? You schmucksies. I absolutely do. Of course I do. Everybody likes to work. Again, you played the tape. The anger was legitimate initially, Sean. It was definitely, the apology was appropriate. But then it sort of took on a life of itself, prodded by, you know who, by the publicity-starved bully with a bullhorn there, jealous of Barack Obama, and enabled by the inexplicably sycophantic liberal media who indulged this clown, and of course the seemingly spineless broadcast executives, as he apparently mortified at the prospect of this self-serving guy showing up in front of their corporate offices with that bullhorn and busloads of, I guess, paid homeless people. And screaming, and the whole thing at that point, again, initially legitimate, apology appropriate, but he took it to another level, and we were essentially we ran a red light apparently, and received the death penalty here in the United States of America, and
let me go through some of this here. All right, so first of all, he was fired first. Well, I guess the MSNBC dropped the program first. And then CBS followed after. But you were not initially fired with Imus. He was fired alone and first, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's right. And I don't, to this day, I really don't understand why I was fired. I mean, I used the H word, the word hoe. But as I said last night, I never received a memo that said that the word was taboo, that it was elevated or lowered to the status of the N-word. Then we got that memo. Of course, we use that word and many others. The B word, we call each other and women, and we refer to Imus's wife, Mr. Imus's wife, as a hoe at times. And in the guise of my Cardinal bit, for example, I did a song parody to the tune of My Wild Irish Rose that I called My Wild Irish Hose. And it made, we talked about, drunken Irish women or whatever, and everybody laughed, and it was fine. And all of a sudden, they changed the rules apparently, and we know what happened. It was the invertebrates in suits just apparently, they caved.
You had recently signed a 5-year deal. And it's interesting to me because your term was hardcore hose, but this is a phrase and a word that you used all the time prior to the re-signing of the contract. Is the company saying now that they were unaware of your use of that word, or?
I am mystified, Sean, as to what they're saying, because I have received no explanation. There was no sort of due process. There was no, none of that stuff. But I really can't discuss. They just terminated me, and
Did they say why, or?
No. Actually, no. They didn't explain it. And then that's to be, I guess, worked out with them in the future. And I probably shouldn't say anything about it. But I mean, what we were about was no secret. I mean, we were, it was, if I can cite the example of Rosie versus Trump, that level of exchange where, he's calling her a slob, an animal, and a pig, and she's calling him a comb-over creep. I mean, we engaged in that type of thing daily, on a daily basis, in addition to the political discussions we had. But there was no secret. I mean, even some of our regular guests, Tim Russert, a blubbering fat schlub, Stephanopoulos, a beady-eyed little half a commie, Teresa Heinz Kerry was Senator Kerry's cash cow, stuff like that. Mike Wallace was a two-legged liver spot, a diaper-wearing dinosaur who slept with Amelia Earhart. He so old. This type of thing, and Imus took the brunt of a lot of that himself. In fact, Imus was savaged on the program. He's a cradle-robbing cadaver. As I said last night, we said he looked like somebody who survived a partial birth abortion.
Oh.
He talked about how his hair looks, and I'm saying it's like worried about the curtains on the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. I mean, the way this type of thing. We had his wife sleeping with half the New York Knicks. Her idea of foreplay was trying to take the guy's Rolex. We had his brother fornicating with barnyard animals, and that type of thing. It was that sort of a show, and we went ethnically. We took out Irish people, Polish people. We had FDR faking, having polio just so he can get out of sleeping with Eleanor. I mean, it was that silly. The Southern culture was satirized, made fun of. As I said last night, the Daytona 500 was the Inbreeders Cup, the Rednecks. We'd tell them, go home and brush your tooth, and all kinds. Nobody was spared. Nobody should have been spared. For example, Patrick Ewing, he's looking for a career in broadcasting. He wants to get in the broadcast booth, so somebody better tell him that the word booth does not end with the letter F. I mean, we took everybody out of all races, and not to do so in itself would have been patronizing and perhaps racist. And so it was no secret what we were doing, but it was in that context that these words were used during that, in the aftermath of that basketball game.
Then let me ask you this, because you said the apology was right for Imus to apologize, and when I watched the apology, and then he took so many shots over the years at me. I wasn't particularly a fan of his, as I've stated on a number of occasions. But you said it was appropriate, but he was speaking for the show, but you basically was sort of never given an opportunity to speak.
That's correct.
And you wanted to apologize to the girls.
Absolutely, because I have an 11-year-old daughter who plays on the school basketball team. And if somebody called her a hoe, we would have to, we'd have to step outside. We'd go at it. And so, in retrospect, I perfectly understand the hurt that those girls felt. So, by the way, I don't speak for Mr. Imus right now, and I'm speaking just for myself. And he did, by the way, handle himself with class and dignity, as did those girls from the team.
And the girls were pretty amazing. The girls never asked for anybody to be fired, and they did meet with him, as I understand it, for an extended period of time, with like 3 hours, and they came out and they said that they accepted his apology, which, you know what, I think we could really learn a lot. These girls really showed. But the pressure on these broadcast executives, again.
They caved, they appeased, this crude, humorless opportunist named Al Sharpton. Again, the Neville Chamberlains of broadcasting. I think they set a bad precedent by caving to him, because then you have, as you said, Elvis and JV and Elvis, and who knows? It could be a slippery slope. But I mean, when we reach the point in this country where we can't make fun of each other and have a few laughs, and if you go over the line, okay, you make an apology or you pay some sort of penalty, but you don't go overboard. Again, get the death penalty for running a red light is just absolutely not, I don't think, what this country's about. I mean, there's artistic license and free speech. All these things are at stake. And, I mean, and there's also the issue of the double standard. You have Hillary Clinton taking $800,000 from this guy, Timbaland, whose records are played on commercial radios, and they're just peppered with the words ho, B, the B word, the N word, the F word.
Wait a minute, but Sharpton himself said that about the African-American mayor of New York, he used the N word multiple times, and he called the African-American mayor of New York a whore. He said white people were living in caves when we were building pyramids, exactly. White interlopers, and he said a lot of things, but, was it then a mistake, and I know you don't want to comment about Imus, but in retrospect, as the controversy goes, was it a mistake to go to Sharpton and beg for forgiveness from him rather than just go directly to the girls themselves, who were the ones that were hurt in this particular case? And I guess maybe one of the differences you're describing here, Bernie, is that a lot of the humor was based on a lot of public figures that are out there in the arena, and these girls are not in that position, and they're just, frankly, great role models for everybody. They're everything you'd want your daughter to be. They worked really hard. Sure. They achieved a great goal. They were successful, and in that sense, it was an unfair target. And
I don't think, absolutely, that's the problem. I mean, I was unaware, to me, it was just an abstract group of girls, a basketball team that was being described. I don't know anything about the Cinderella story, the Cinderella season that they had. But still, if they were hurt, and they were, then the apologies were in order. But yes, the double standard when nobody takes Al Sharpton to task. I mean, the media brought him in and treated him like he was Nelson Mandela. I mean, they had their heads so far up his keister they could have checked for polyps. It was nauseating. It was absolutely disgusting what they did. I mean, he's nobody to be leading a charge like this, and yet he was allowed to do just that, and he achieved these staggering results at this time. And and by the way, Sean, I grew up in the South Bronx, in the housing projects. I drove a cab at night in the ghettos of Yonkers and the Bronx. That language, the street language, is my language as well. I grew up with that. I mean, I was, fights. I've been robbed. I had guns pointed at me several times, smacked over the head. It's on record. Stitches in my head, robbed in the taxi, and so I know the streets, and I speak like that. So it's not like I'm some rich kid from the suburbs coming down here and mocking, trying to mock a race or whatever. I live that life. I lived there, and that's what I did on the radio. And again, it was no surprise. It should have come as no surprise to the companies, because we've been doing it for years. I have been engaging in it for years, and again, nothing over the line. All of it within the norm. Acceptable standard, but all of a sudden it seems like the goal line shifted, or the standard shifted.
Right. Hang on there. Bernie McGuirk is with us, producer of the Imus program. He too was fired, and talking more about the aftermath of that controversy. We'll get a few of your calls in here as well. 800-941-SEAN is our toll-free telephone number if you want to be a part of the program. Quick break. Right back. We'll continue straight ahead. Show happy Friday. Glad you're with us. 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. Bernard McGuirk with us, the producer of the Don Imus Show, fired with Imus over the controversy that we spent a lot of time on this program talking about here. Bernie, maybe let me ask you this. I assume you're going to get back on the air at some point, either with Imus, or I assume you'll be back in radio, because this is the industry you've been a part of for a long, long time here.
Sure.
You mentioned that you didn't get the memo about the word ho. It's a word you've used, and
not only I, Sean, forgive me for interrupting, but everybody else. I mean, we're in that morning radio, well, not jungle, but competition with we're up against Howard Stern, everybody uses it. It's part of the popular vernacular. It's no secret either. But all of a sudden, to single us or Mr. Imus out or whatever. The double standard again is just.
Well, let me ask you this: what, for example, if you came back on the air, assuming you're going to be on again soon? Does this change you? For example, is the word ho now off limits for you? Does this mean no more ethnic jokes on the radio for you?
Listen,
or do you go back on and you be the same person you always were?
Will I be neutered? Of course not. But I will adhere to whatever the conventional standards dictate. Whatever it is. For example, the N-word is out. At least for for most people, it's out, and I would never use it. Whatever the norms are, of course I would adhere to them. I'm not stupid.
But I want to reiterate one point.
I don't want to offend people either. I don't want to refer to women as that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were saying?
No, but I mean, but for example, now it's jump-started a whole discussion about rap music. And it also started a discussion about, well, what can be said in humor now anywhere?
Yes, it has.
Does that mean no more ethnic jokes? What's a 7-course meal for an Irishman, and I'm Irish?
Right.
A 6-pack and a potato. Is that off limits now?
Well, hopefully not. See, that's the danger, Sean, and that's what I hope not. I mean, we did, again, Polish jokes, Polish on the Polish Day Parade, they're marching the wrong way, down Fifth Avenue instead of up, stuff like that. Everybody, nobody, everybody took it. I mean, from African Americans to...
Right. Hold that thought. I got a hard break. You understand it. Quick break, right back in your calls for Bernard McGuirk coming up.
55 KRC, the talk station.
Anyway, the Hannity hotline, 24 hours a day. It's open 7 days a week, 365 days, a public service so that the left has an outlet, a cathartic experience to dispense of their vitriol so that when you run into them in your daily life, they'll be a little bit kinder to you having gotten it out of their system. 212-613-3830. Anyway, we continue now. Bernard McGuirk is with us. He is the producer of the Don Imus program, and this is his first radio interview since he got fired, both from MSNBC and from the morning radio show that they had produced for a long period of time. How many years were you on the show, Bernard?
About 20 years, Sean. By the way, it's good to hear Alan Combs phoning in every now and then to weigh
checking in, huh?
The hotline there.
I just think that this has raised a lot of different issues. I mean, I understand why the girls were upset. I think it was appropriate, as you do the apology. I'm glad you had a chance now to make an apology to them, which you pretty much have been silent. You hadn't had that opportunity till now. I think it raises, though, a broader discussion. I mean, and you mentioned Hillary. Let me just play, for example. This is 3 weeks ago. She gets $800,000 at the mansion of this rap exec Timbaland. Here's just a sampling of the type of music he produced in one song, the N-word, 24 times.
Everyone know I'm a beast when it comes to these beats. You can copy me, but you can sample my drum kicks and my snare, make your beat and it compares. You can borrow my MP, even hire Jimmy D, the engineer for you. You can.
All right, that's the guy raising money for Hillary's campaign here. I think sometimes we talk a lot on this program, Bernard, about selective moral outrage here.
Exactly.
And the point that I made, I debated, as you know, Al Sharpton, and the point I was making that he should have forgiven Imus because he had forgiven for a whole series of incidents that he was responsible for, racial comments, anti-Semitic comments that he has made.
Which he never apologized for, by the way.
Tawana Broly's a classic case in point.
Exactly.
And I think context is often missed here. That we have the selective moral outrage question, and then we have the context. For example, does it matter if everybody is fair game on a program, every ethnic group, that there's no holds barred, that this is an atmosphere where people are just, it is sort of sophomoric humor, just say anything, locker room humor, whatever.
That's exactly the context, the comedic context, the ability, there's humor and ridicule, and we engaged in that, and I think context is everything. It wasn't, a serious ESPN sports discussion show or Meet the Press. It was in the context of this type of show that we do. With everybody, it's again, locker room, juvenile humor, but nevertheless, and maybe something at this point, we went over the line, okay, fine, we went over the line, but we didn't deserve the death penalty, in my humble opinion. I mean, again, everybody got it, Irish, Polish, I mean, with the British sailors, when they surrendered, we call them snaggle-tooth, tea-sucking surrender monkeys. I mean, there was no, the British, whatever, nobody, I mean, that's just the type of humor. I mean, Iraqis don't get circumcised so they have a place to hide their gum in a sandstorm. I mean, just that awful type of humor. And in that vein, comments are said, and we're on 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And, maybe once in a while somebody goes over the line, but to have this sort of climate now, because somebody might go over the line, maybe not, I think it's just wrong in the United States of America. And to allow this guy, this bully with the bullhorn, this sanctimonious skunk with a bullhorn, to dictate this is just, as he would call it, it's an outrage. It ain't right. It's not right, Sean. And by the way, Mr. Imus, let me tell you something. He backed Harold Ford Jr. like Harold Ford Jr. was his own son. Mr. Imus said that the Katrina neglect was rooted in racism. He was adamant about it. He screamed about the lack of funding for sickle cell anemia. Here's a record of philanthropy, and you speak of context, his record of philanthropy for kids with cancer, for sudden infant death syndrome, for shaming Congress into raising the benefits for wounded veterans. I mean, I'd put his record and his body of work and his record of generosity against any of these
why didn't he make? You're making a far better case for him today than he made for himself. Why didn't he bring all this up when this all came out?
You know, Sean. First of all, I'm not speaking for Mr. Imus, but I guess I have the benefit of a bit of hindsight and passing time, and I would imagine, but I'm not speaking for Mr. Imus. I'm just.
I understand. I don't want to put you in the
what the show did, what he did, and I'm proud of the way he handled himself in the aftermath. After he apologized, he held his head high, and what he did, and
I think you're adding context and texture to a lot of this here, including your background and where you grow up, and the type of language that was used by everybody in the neighborhood that you grew up with.
That's exactly right.
And the humor was directed at everybody, and there were no sacred cows, and there was an admission that in this case that these were innocent victims that didn't deserve to be the subject of this type of humor, and an appropriate apology was issued.
But then it took on a media frenzy, a mob frenzy. I mean, it had the earmarks of sort of a reverse high-tech lynching at that point. I mean, it just spun out of control. And again, it was the punishment was not commensurate with the crime as has been observed before. But it's worth restating. It was just, and now there's this atmosphere, this climate of fear. People are going to say something, that might just cost them their livelihood at the drop of a hat. And people have to fight back. People in the radio and the broadcast community, they can't let this stand. They shouldn't let it stand because it could happen to you. It happened to us. It could happen to you. It's a slippery slope. Again, I quoted last night the anti-Nazi German pastor. First they came for the communists, but I wasn't a communist. I didn't say it. Then they came for the Jews. I wasn't a Jew. I didn't say anything. Then they came for the Catholics. I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and there was nobody to speak up for me. I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen if people sit down and acquiesce to this type of.
But we always forget one thing, and I bring this up too in the context that there are people that monitor conservative radio programming 24 hours a day with the hopes that they're going to get one conservative stepping over a line in one instance and then attack their advertisers and try and get them off the air because they don't like what they're saying politically. We have a movement now that's advancing the fairness doctrine in the United States Congress that's real,
right.
that would ostensibly try and stop programs like this because they don't like the political bent of the host.
Sure.
Even though people have options and choices more than any other time in history. And one of the things we're not bringing up here, Bernard, is that people have the option and the ability to turn off the radio.
Let the market dictate. Let the audience, have that option. If they want to listen to this type of locker room humor, allow them, afford them that ability. If it makes them laugh and lightens their life, and if not, they can change it, and then the ratings will go down and things will change. But to react to a specific incident, especially in light of this phony screaming that after dusting off his bullhorn is just wrong. And by the way, CBS had a lot of the stuff that was said on our program, was within the context of a character. For example, say the Cardinal. The CBS had Archie Bunker on for years and All in the Family, and they satirized sort of a bigot, and then we did that. A lot. I mean, one of my favorite lines in All in the Family at the end, Archie mediated something. He either says, "Archie, you're a regular Henry Kissinger," and he goes, "Oh, geez, he's got no problems without being in need there, huh?" And everybody laughed. That was on CBS. I mean, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And Dave Chappelle wins Emmys for doing some really, really rough, raunchy, racial, ethnic stuff. I mean, where is the standard? I mean, that's the double standard out there. is just there's something wrong.
Little girl, get me a beer.
Dinner there, huh?
Let's go to our phones here. A lot of people want to talk to you. Bernard McGuirk on our Newsmaker line, and we'll check in with Adam, is in Dover, New Jersey. Adam with Bernard McGuirk on the Sean Hannity Show. Hi.
Hey, Sean. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Hey, I've been trying to get through to you for a couple of weeks now. Want to let you know I'm definitely been Hannitized.
Thank you.
And, I was going to say something about, political correctness in this country has gotten way out of hand, and I'm so glad that Mr. McGuirk brought up Archie Bunker, because I was a kid when that was on the air, and I used to watch it as a kid and used to laugh my butt off all the time about everything. I thought Archie Bunker was one of the best American characters of all-time television. But what I wanted to say was, I remember as a kid, it was always the standard line of, are there any Jews in the room? Are there any Polish people in the room before you told a joke? People knew to be careful and conscientious of those people around them. And now we're being censored by, whoever is out there that wants to speak up, and yet anyone can use any term they want against you.
Look at the Trent Lott case. I mean, Trent Lott was trying to be a little bit funny in honor of a guy's 100th birthday. Well, we would have been better off if you were president, and he lost his position over it. And he apologized 10 times. Nobody wanted to hear it. And yet the Democrats put a former Klansman in charge of the Senate and the Democrats. The double standard is sickening.
It is sickening. By the way, I live out, Sean, in an area, heavily a Jewish area, where, as I once observed, the directory in the building that I lived in read like Schindler's List. I mean, my buddies, my closest buddies.
Did you get in trouble for that?
I'm sorry?
Did you get in trouble for that?
Well, of course not. Why get in trouble for that? I mean, it was quoted in the paper, but it's a joke. But my best friends are Jewish guys. They're among my closest friends, and again, the double standard. It's everything. We just have fun. We clown around amongst each other, and to put a chill on all of that is just wrong.
Let's go to Rhonda's next, Flint, Michigan, with Bernard McGuirk on the Sean Hannity Show. Hi.
Hi, Sean.
How are you?
You're a great American.
Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Bernard.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I think Imus never should have been fired, because it is a double standard.
Well, thank you. It wasn't
yourself.
It wasn't the Today Show. It wasn't, Fox and Friends. It wasn't Garrison Keillor on NPR. We had a different tone on our program, and so yes, definitely, it was taken not out of again, the anger legitimate initially, but the rest of it. It wasn't an isolated sort of a thing where these girls were particularly singled out with malice. That wasn't the case, though the apology certainly appropriate in this case.
I will tell you that the Rutgers women's basketball team, I think they taught everybody a lesson here. I think they did the right thing. They didn't have to meet with Imus. They met with him. They heard him out.
Exactly.
Then they came out publicly and said, yeah, we forgive him. They never jumped the gun and said, fire him. I don't know. I just think that I thought they showed just a lot of dignity.
And exhibited class.
It was just tremendous. But
dignity, and they were an inspiration to my daughter, and I'm sure lots of other, young girls around the nation. Absolutely, positively.
Ryan Pittsburgh, our FM talker, with Bernard McGuirk. How are you, Ryan? Yeah, you're on the air.
Hey, Don, how you doing?
Good. You got to pick up the phone, my friend. Hello? Ryan, are you there?
Ryan sounds like he's in...
Let's go to Bill in North Carolina. Bill on the Sean Hannity Show. Hi.
Hi, Sean. You're a great American.
Thank you, buddy. You're a great American. Say hi to Bernie McGuirk.
And hi, Mr. McGuirk.
What's up, buddy?
Ain't nothing to it. I just wanted you to know this is my first time calling. 20-year Air Force vet with a 12-month tour in Vietnam. But what I wanted to say first was that there's no way that you or Don Imus should have been fired, because, let's face it, they take shots at everybody. Nobody's sacrosanct, and it was intended as entertainment.
Hey, listen, I don't know if anybody's seen Snoop Dogg at the Super Bowl. He's doing commercials with Lee Iacocca for Chrysler. I mean, again, I appreciate that sentiment, but again, it's the double standard and a sort of the overreaction and the caving, the acquiescing to to a certain, a certain loudmouth that was wrong. I think that's the essence of it. And but I appreciate that sentiment.
Let's go to Rusty in Texas for Bernard McGuirk. Hi.
Yeah, hello, Sean. I just finished reading your book, Deliverance from Evil.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Imus is one of those guys. I may have listened to him over the last 10 years 2 or 3 times. He has a real acidic personality. I didn't really care for the guy, but I wouldn't.
He's one of these warm, fuzzy guys, isn't he?
yeah, he was warm and fuzzy, all right, if you like a porcupine.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't. I'm not sure I would fire him because he had let his mouth overload his posterior, because that's what he does.
Well, I also watched this apology, and look, Bernie and I have known each other. We've done events together for over the years, and I wasn't particularly fond of him either because of his. I thought he took cheap, gratuitous shots at me at times, and I was like, well, who needs that?
Right. Well, understandably, you would feel that way.
But his apology was, I felt sincere. He said it was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. That was mean. I'm sorry. I felt that was sincere. I sensed genuine, contrition in his heart.
No question. But the broadcasting executives were spying with more testosterone on the set of The View than in some of these broadcasting corporation boardrooms. He was definitely sincere, and he's a good man. And he's done so much good. And again, it was no surprise the level of humor that we engaged in. None of that. It's been widely known over the years. So the whole thing is just it was just wrong. Well, we're running out of time here, but I expect you'll be resurfacing at some point, and we'll be following it, and we'll have you back on. Bernie, we really appreciate you being on with us today. With the fake accent, John, that's insulting now. That's very insulting.
We've talked about that at length. All right, Bernard McGuirk, appreciate you being with us. All the best to you. Thanks for being on board. All right.
Sean Hannity. This is 55 KRC, the talk station.